Okay, considering the times that we're in, I figured I'd give everybody a special episode. If you're hanging out at home, not doing much. So I'm going to voice over this episode. What I'm making is a table for my buddy who's an audio engineer, and he has a big console, and he has a niche in his apartment. So this has to go into the niche. It's 58 inches wide, and so we're making the table 57 inches wide. And it's going to be 4 feet deep with a 16-inch shelf that's 16 inches high. I like to use this 16 gauge wall 2x2 tubing. And everybody's always curious, why do I like to use the angle grinder and not the bandsaw? And there's one very simple reason. It's just easy to manipulate the raw materials in place. If I had to bandsaw each one of those parts, I'd have to drag each piece of 24-foot tubing to the bandsaw, have in and out. When it's all sitting on horses, I can just cut right what I need from the stock. This is my new sander. This is a 34 double D, is from Oliver. It's from 1950, 51, 52. And it is just incredible. Three-phase, got it from Andrew over at Blacksmith Tools. And it's one of my new favorite tools. You see me using their fireball squares. And these are an indispensable part of making anything when you're welding. There's no better way to capture a 90 degree or to hold a 90 degree while you're welding. And if you notice, they hold the 90 degree, but they also hold the face of the 2x2s as well, or whatever you're going to be welding. And so I'm welding and I'm grinding as I go. I'm welding with Lincoln, grinding with Ferd, and those are my guys. And I'm welding and grinding as I go so that it's done. When I'm done, it's done. And it's real important to just kind of keep going and grinding as you go. If I welded everything and then try to grind it at the end, there'd be so many welds to do. So just this way, I'm just going as I go. I started with building the back first, and you see I have the two uprights at the foreground and the background of the shot, and then from left to right, I have 1, 2, 3. One at the bottom is a support. In the middle is going to be the table height, and at the top is going to be the shelf above height. And like I said, I'm just welding and grinding as I go. All right, I'm using my Ferd angle grinder, and I'm going between the wafer there, which is a super thin wafer, I'm not sure what the model number is, and going back and forth to the grinding pad. So I'm using the same grinder and I'm switching back and forth. And it's only because I happen to have one of those. If I had three of those, each one would have a different grinding disc on it. To be perfectly honest with you. Now I switched to the 1.5-inch tubing now, and back to the sander. Now at this point, I'm just basically rough cutting everything, giving myself about a 1/2 inch more than I need. Because of course, when you round robin the tube by cutting 1, 2, 3, 4 sides with the angle grinder, it's never perfect. So you just kiss it off on the big disc sander and you get a perfect square. Of course, making sure everything on the setup is square. The angle of the table and the angle of your square. And so here I'm just putting, these are going to be this is going to be the uprights, or rather the arms that are holding the top shelf. And I'm using the fireball squares. I should have had a square in both directions, but I did check it for a split second off camera, and it was square. And so what I'm doing now, this is what I like to do when I'm covering the cap or an open end. So considering this is going to be the bar that faces whoever's at the desk full time. So right there, that faces straight out. So I'm just tacking it. And when I tend to cut those caps, they flare up a little bit. So I weld them and tap them down with a hammer the whole time, trying to maintain them to stay flat. So I'm just tacking and tacking and tacking. This is 16 gauge steel, so if I try and hold a long bead on it at the wrong setting, I'll definitely melt through it. But I've gotten used to it. When you have an open edge to the corner of a tube, when an open edge hits the corner of the tube, I tend to favor the corner of the tube. It soaks in a lot more heat. If I just try and land that weld right in the middle, it more often than not blows through. And you'll notice I'm making what's going to become the three-dimensional part of this table. And I'm just doing a lot of rough cutting there. And I have most of my tubes cut. From a filmmaker's point of view, I'm trying to show the progress of the material building up. So if you go back and watch the opening shot, you'll see I make 5 pieces. And again, I just love showing the sander off. It's just unbelievable. And it's running off of the American Rotary amp unit. And that's how I run all my 3-phase equipment in the shop. It runs off of a 60 amp outlet, and it generates 3-phase for all my machines in 3 steps, 10, 20, and 30 amps. Now you notice how this, I'm laying it directly on the back bar and what's the bottom support. I'm using that. I know everything there is square. I'm just laying it right on it, tacking it, making sure it's all staying in place as I weld it. Flip it over, I weld one side, weld the other side. It puckered a little bit when I welded the other side, so I just put it back on the clamps there, and then it closed up the gap. And now you'll see what I'm doing. I'm basically using the well set up back frame as my guide to weld the legs. So I just do one side here, and ultimately I'm going to cut this side and fold it in. I guess you might have seen the thumbnail, and you know that this table is going to be convertible. Instead of trying to cut all those tubes, so for instance each side would end up being 2 halves, I make the full side, and I trust that it's, see again, I'm using the back as my square. So I trust that the back is square. I trust it. So I'm going to make my sides. If I make my back and my sides the same, everything's going to be square and choochy. And instead of trying to make the sides in several pieces, make it in one big piece and cut it in half. And that's what I'm going to do in a few minutes. So based on my design, I know that the front rib is going to be attached to the drop leaf. So once you see me done with these few parts, I'm not going to have, this might be an early edit. I would have ordinarily cut all that little bit out. Me walking away and getting the grinder. I'm having trouble with my hard drive tonight, so I'm happy that I was able to at least save this. I was getting all ready to re-edit this whole thing. You see me running around with the clamps. Again, I welded one side, and I'm just clamping it again to pinch the other side shut. So now I take it off. I'm going to take this off and then flip it upright. And it's going to become the other side. There you go. Now you see I spin it around. And I'm using those fireball clamps, which are a must for any welding shop. Speak to anybody that has those fireball clamps, you'll realize you wonder what you did before. You just kind of fumbled around with carpenter squares. It's funny, in a roundabout way, I made my own fireball clamps in the past. I made big squares out of plywood and drilled holes in them and used the holes as the accessory to clamp onto the tubes and stuff. But it never occurred to me to make them as a living or to make them as a business like the way Jason has. I mean, they're just an unbelievable accessory to a shop. So now here's me and Aaron. We're flipping the table over, and you can see we do a 180 here. And now that is the girth and depth of the table. And like I said, that front support will be on the leaf, the drop leaf. Now these are just little crummy hinges from Home Depot. They're just a small little set. This table isn't going to be opened and closed 1,000 times. If it would have been that type of case, I would have made sure I got better hinges. But in a pinch, you know, with the lockdown in New York State, wasn't ready to drive up to Albany to get better hinges. So what you see me doing here is I don't want to dissect the table then reassemble it. I'm cutting the inside of the table here. So I'm slicing what the hinge is going to bridge. Then I weld the hinge in place, and then I slice completely through everything. Now, you can't tell from my fast-forwarded shots here, but there was some kind of funky metal. I don't know what it was, but it was almost like welding through zinc. Maybe I was welding through painted zinc. I don't know, but they were painted black. I just was welding right through the paint. So I did one side. Now I'm working on the other side. Shout out to Lincoln. I'm wearing a Lincoln helmet, and I'm wearing a Tillman jacket. A few people are asking me what kind of jacket that is. That is a Tillman welding jacket in leather. I got it from the guys when I met them at FabTech this year. Now I'm cutting completely through. I did cut the inside, and now the hinge bridges it, and so now here I'm just going back in there and feeling it. There it is. I'm cut through. So you realize I never actually had to dismantle it. It was always kept in place right up to the moment it became functional. And there it is. So now I have my convertible aspect to this table. The front legs fold in kind of like crab arms. And of course I measured it because I didn't want them to overlap at the front. It's critical. This table has to go through into an elevator, and it has to go through a doorway in a New York City apartment, which is the whole reason I made it convertible like this. And then also because it is a huge table, it's going to sit in his apartment. Say, for instance, he wants not to use it as his audio engineering table, and he wants to kind of move it to the side. Instead of having to completely dismantle it, he can convert it down to half the depth and then maybe use it for something else. And so now I'm using a piece of scrap as my guide. That little piece of scrap represents the top of the open leg there. Again, I'm doing the other side now. That was a piece of I-beam that was left over from the anvil stand build. It was just sitting next to the bandsaw. I cut it in half and used one half on one side, one half on the other. I did notch the top of those legs so that everything would sit flush. And now here I'm just using my track saw to start to work on what's going to become the top. I'm just using birch plywood. I know I'm going to edge band it. And this is the niche for the back uprights. And I like to use these kind of pull saws. They work great. They're great for just making this simple cut. Better than breaking out the jigsaw. The jigsaw is going to pull up the veneer. Just use a little hand pull saw. Even when they're in really crummy shape, they work well. Now I'm making the edge banding. And instead of making it thin, I like to make a big piece that you could nail. So all my edge banding is at least 1/4 inch thick. I also don't like edge banding that you iron on. It always peels off. So now here I am gluing it. And now that I cut it to width, which was 56 inches. Now with both 1/4 inch parts, it ends up becoming about 56 and a half, close to 57. Now you see again, I'm using the pull saw to trim. I always make my edge banding just about 1 inch long and then build up to it, cut up to it. And I'm palm sanding that into place a little bit. And just what feels right, getting rid of any glue drips. It's important because when I put some paint on it. Now, went into my furred sanding disc library made by Aaron. Aaron, thank you for that. And I'm just doing a little spray glue. You notice I'm putting spray glue on the block and the paper there at the same time. Just razor blading it. It's really important to always use a sanding block when you do this edge banding, because you don't want the palm sander to give you dips and doodles. That gives you long straight things. And then I show a slow-mo here. When I'm sanding, I always keep my fingertips under the end. I don't want to scratch the hell out of that veneer. You want to just kind of do a slight, maybe 1 or 2 degree angle on the edge banding. And now I'm cutting it apart. I use the edge banding, I went completely across everything just to keep it all together. It was actually physically less work too, because I didn't have to edge band 2 separate parts. I edge banded 1 long part and cut it in half later. Now I just give it, by the end of this video, there will be 3 or 4 coats of this paint in place. By the way, I do these voiceover videos on my Patreon. I'm just doing this special one because it's just a weird circumstance that we all live in. Take a look at this. This is how I preserve my paintbrush. This is an old tip I've shown in a couple of videos in the past, but I figured I'd do it again. Now, everybody always whines and complains when they see me make a metal table that I'm not considering the floor. I just never show this part because it's kind of boring, but again, I'm just trying to make a little bit more of an extended video tonight. Throw a piece of 2x4 in there, put some felt tips on there, throw that 2x4 and nail it, screw through the side. That's 16 gauge. I can just run a regular wood screw through the side. Just spin it till the tip melts the metal and it goes right into it. Doesn't necessarily have to have a drill tip. Got to be careful though, because if it flops off the drill and everything falls, you end up stabbing yourself in the hand. Be careful. So I'm taking an opportunity to paint this while it's upright. I had it flipped up so that I could put the pegs in the feet. So while I'm in this awkward position, try and get all the paint that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to see in this position. I did flip it left, I did flip it right. So now this is the sort of the mechanism for this table. These are the 2 leaves that I made. And this is the one on the table, is the one with the niches in the back corners. And now that's the drop leaf, the one that will fold down. And I glued everything in place because I didn't want to have any screws coming through the top. Just use some black silicone. I recently used that black silicone in a video. I can't remember which one. Not the stained glass, something else. But anyway, here you see me and Aaron bringing that top in. And this is really the first time I made sure it fit, and I was looking around. So you see my honest reaction to like, okay. I wanted it to be proud by like a 1/16 of an inch, and it was. A ruler doesn't lie as long as you pay close attention to it. And you know what those little slashes and lines mean. And I made this shelf off camera just because it was a little redundant, and glued it in place. And now you could kind of start to see the actual concept here. And I kept the clamps on it for a couple of hours. And now I'm going to test the drop leaf for the very first time right here. And it kind of gets hung up a little bit on the hinge, the bottom of the hinge. Once it pops into place, and there's the drop leaf. It's not perfect. It's really only meant to fold down so that it could be mobile. Not necessarily to become two separate tables, although you can treat it as such. Now I can lean hard down on there because I got those hooks grabbing the top of those two open tubes. Now this is my beauty shot. Hope everyone's safe out there and practicing social distancing. Strange times we live in. Thank you for supporting me here. Like I said, you can see more voiced over videos on my Patreon. Thank you all. Be safe, everybody.